Assalamu alaikum students, how are you? I hope that you all will be fine. Today we'll read unit number 2 of New Oxford Modern English book 3. So let's start. And the title of unit number 2 is The Wooden Bowl. So first of all, let me explain you the meanings of difficult words, and the first word is chisel. Chisel means a metal tool used to cut and shape wood. Just like you see in this picture, this man has a tool in his hand and this tool is called chisel. It is usually used by carpenters. The next word is clumsy. Clumsy means lacking skill or grace, or it means awkward. It also means weird. The third word is complain. Complain means to say you are unhappy about something. Next word is couple. Couple means two people who are married. The next word is earned. Earned means received money for work done, yani kamaya. The next word is fetch. Fetch means to go after and bring back something or somebody, yani jaakar kuch cheez lana. The next word is nod off. Nod off means to go to sleep, yani बैठे बैठे सो जाना. So before starting reading, let me explain you the overall summary of the lesson. There are basically 4 characters in this lesson. The old man, whose name is Kurt, his son, whose name is Manfred, and she is the wife of Manfred, her name is Tekla, and their son, whose name is Wilhelm. So Kurt was a carpenter by profession, and as he grew old, he started to do weird things, like sometimes he did awful dressing, sometimes things just fell from his hands, and he didn't do these things intentionally, but these things happened due to the age factor. क्योंकि वो बूढ़ा हो चुका था तो कभी उसके हाथ से चीज़ें गिर जाती थीं, कभी उसकी ड्रेसिंग ठीक नहीं होती थी. So his son and daughter-in-law behaved cruelly and angrily with him. One day their own son Wilhelm taught them a lesson which made them realize that they were doing wrong with Kurt. So they were ashamed of their behavior and they decided not to misbehave again, and they started living together happily. So let's start reading. Once upon a time, in a small town in Germany, there lived a man called Kurt. He lived with his son Manfred and his daughter-in-law Tekla. They all shared a little old house at the end of a quiet street in the middle of the town. So Kurt and his family used to live in a small town, and that town was in Germany, and their house was in the middle of the town and at the end of the street. The next paragraph is, Manfred was a carpenter and spent all his time in a workshop next to the house. He had learned carpentry from his father, who had been a famous carpenter in his days. Kurt had taught his son well, and the son earned a good living. He made furniture for the people of the town, and from time to time he did some carving. Kurt was a famous carpenter of his time. Carpenter means badhai, and he used to make furniture for the people who lived in his town, and sometimes he did carving as well. Carving means sculpturing, yani naksho-nigari karna. And as Manfred was his son, so he also learned the art of carpentry from his father. And he was earning a good living means he was living happily because he was earning well through carpentry. And this is his workshop, and his workshop was just next to the house. The young couple, Manfred and Tekla, had a son called Wilhelm. The boy liked to sit in the workshop and watch his father. As he grew older, He helped his father by fetching and carrying things. He learned to clean the tools and to take care of them. He learned how to use a saw and a hammer and a chisel. And his grandfather taught him to carve wood into wonderful shapes. So Wilhelm, who was the son of Manfred and Tekla, took interest in his father's work. He also helped him in fetching, carrying and cleaning things as Manfred was getting older. He knew how to use chisel, a hammer and a saw. As you can see in the picture that this is a chisel, this is a hammer and it is a saw. Hammer means hathodi and saw means ari. So Wilhelm could also do carving. He learned to shape wood into different things from his grandfather. यानी विल्हम को कारपेंट्री में बहुत इंटरेस्ट था और वो लकड़ी से छोटी मोटी चीज़ें भी बना लिया करता था. Now come to next paragraph. The grandfather was very old now and getting older every day. He was not very strong, his eyes were dim and he could not see well. Sometimes his hands shook and sometimes he sat in a chair and nodded off. So students, Wilhelm's grandfather Kurt was getting older day by day. He was also becoming weaker. His eyesight was also getting dim. Sometimes his hands started shaking and often he slept while sitting. Let's come to the next paragraph. In the evenings, when they all sat down to dinner at the table, Manfred and Tekla used to get angry with the old grandfather. He was slow and clumsy. Sometimes he broke a glass, sometimes he dropped a spoon, and sometimes he spilled soup on his clothes. He was an old man after all. So what happened? When in the evenings they gathered at dinner on the table, Manfred and Tekla used to get angry on him. Why? Because he was slow and he became to dress awkward. Sometimes utensils were broken by him, sometimes things were dropped by his hands, and hence his clothes became messy. So Manfred and Tekla became so much angry on him. तो कर्ट क्योंकि बूढ़ा और कमज़ोर हो गया था, उसे सही से दिखाई भी नहीं देता था. तो मैनफ्रेड और टेक्ला उस पर गुस्सा होते थे क्योंकि कभी कभी उससे बर्तन गिर जाते, कभी टूट जाते, कभी कपड़ों पे कुछ गिर जाता, जिसकी वजह से मैनफ्रेड और टेक्ला उससे नाराज़ हो जाते थे. One day during the evening meal, the old man dropped his plate on the floor. Crash! It smashed into 100 tiny pieces, and the food fell all over the place. Tekla and Manfred began to clean up the floor, but how angry they were. So, at one evening meal, the plate fell from Kurt on the floor. A high sound produced, and it was broken into pieces, and the floor became dirty. Manfred and Tekla started cleaning the floor, but they were so much angry on him. तो एक दिन डिनर पे कर्ट के हाथ से प्लेट गिर गई और सारा फ्लोर गंदा हो गया. फिर मैनफ्रेड और टेक्ला ने उस पर बहुत गुस्सा किया. Let's read the next paragraph. After that accident, they bought him a cheap wooden bowl from the market and gave him his dinner in that. They made the old man sit by himself in the corner of the room to eat his food. The old man was sad. He kept quiet and did not complain. So, what happened? After that day, Manfred and Tekla bought a cheap wooden bowl from the market, and this is the wooden bowl. So they asked Kurt to sit in the corner of the room and eat in that wooden bowl. Kurt became so much sad, but he didn't complain. So students, उस वाक़ये के बाद उन्होंने कर्ट को खाना देकर कमरे के कोने में बिठाना शुरू कर दिया ताकि वो गिराए ना। इस बात पे कर्ट बहुत सैड हुआ, लेकिन उसने कोई शिकायत ना की। Now let's read the next paragraph. One evening, not long afterwards, Tekla and Manfred had finished work for the day and were preparing the evening meal. When the meal was ready, they called for Wilhelm. They looked in his room, but he was not there. Where could that boy be? Asked Tekla. So one evening, when Manfred and Tekla, after completing their work, started preparing the meal and it was ready, they called Wilhelm to eat. But he was not in his room. And Tekla said, where could that boy be? So Manfred had no idea. He asked the old man if he had seen Wilhelm, but the old man shook his head. So Manfred asked Kurt about Wilhelm, but Kurt also didn't know about him. Tekla and Manfred became a little worried. They looked out on the street, but Wilhelm was not there. Then they saw a light on in the workshop. They went to look. So Manfred and Tekla became worried. They looked in the street as well, but Wilhelm was not there. They saw that light was turned on in the workshop, so they went there. तो मैनफ्रेड और टेक्ला विल्हम को ढूंढते ढूंढते वर्कशॉप में आ गए. And what happened next? They stepped into the workshop and found their son sitting on the floor. He was cutting a small block of wood and working as hard as he could. So, what did they see? They saw that their son was sitting on the floor and making something from wood. Now let's read what happened next. Ah, there you are, said Tekla. What are you making, son? Asked Manfred. Wilhelm put down the block of wood and the chisel. He looked up at his parents. I am making a wooden bowl for you to eat from when you are old, replied the boy. The parents looked at each other, their eyes filled with tears. So when they asked Wilhelm that what he was making, Wilhelm looked at them and said that he was making a wooden bowl for them so that they may eat in it when they will grow old. तो विल्हम ने क्या कहा कि वो उनके लिए एक ऐसा वुडन बोल बना रहा है जिसमें वो खा सकें जब वो बूढ़े हों. Now the second last paragraph is, Come, dinner is ready, said Tekla softly. And she put her arms around her son, and the three of them went back to the house. After this, Tekla and Manfred always asked the old grandfather to sit with them at table. So, on hearing what Wilhelm said, they were ashamed and their eyes were full of tears. So students, why there were tears in their eyes? Because they were embarrassed what they did with Kurt. They were embarrassed that they did wrong with Kurt. Manfred और टेक्ला दोनों अपने किए पर शर्मिंदा थे. So Tekla asked Wilhelm to come for dinner. All of them went back to house. After that, Manfred and Tekla started behaving politely with Kurt. They started to respect him and made him sit on dinner table along with them. So students, what did you learn from this lesson? You learned that we should behave well with our elders, especially when they grow old, because one day we have to grow old as well. Okay students, so here's a question for you, that were Tekla and Manfred right to get angry? Why or why not? Obviously, Manfred and Tekla were not right to get angry. They were totally wrong because they were disrespecting Kurt and they should take care of him a lot in such an age. But they were misbehaving with him, so they were wrong. Okay students, now it's time for you to do exercise, and these are the questions which you have to write on your notebooks. So let's read. Answer the questions about these lines from the story. They looked in his room, but he was not there. Where could that boy be? Now question number 1 is, who looked in the room? Yes, we all know that Tekla and Manfred looked in the room. Who asked the question? And what was the question? The question was, where could that boy be? So they are asking, who asked the question? Yes, we all know that Tekla asked the question. Whom were they looking for and why? They were looking for Wilhelm. And why? They were looking for him to have his evening meal. The next question is, where was the missing person found? Now, who is the missing person they are talking about? Yes, they are talking about Wilhelm. So they are asking, where was the missing person found? So we will answer that the missing person was found in the workshop, which was just next to the house. So students, I gave you the overall summary of the answers, and proper answers will be given to you in the solution. So just go and have a look of your solution and write the proper answers in your notebooks. Okay students, so next question is match the following. Now these are the sentences which are used in the lesson. So you have to complete the sentences as they are used in the lesson. So the first one is, in the evenings. Let's find its answer. In the evenings, yes, they sat down to dinner. We will match it. In the evenings, they sat down to dinner. The next one is, they bought him. They bought him a cheap wooden bowl. They bought him a cheap wooden bowl. They all lived in a little old house. Yes. They all lived in a little old house. The son earned a good living. Yes, the son earned a good living. The old man didn't complain. Yes, the old man didn't complain. The little boy, now the last one was making a bowl. The little boy was making a bowl. Now come to the next question. Find words in the story for the following. A person who makes things out of wood. Yes, we all know that a person who makes things out of wood is called a carpenter. Let's write its spellings: C-A-R-P-E-N-T-E-R. Carpenter. And it becomes carpenter. The next one is, to cut wood or stone into shapes. A person who cuts wood or stone into shapes is called an artist. So A-R-T-I-S-T, artist. The next one is the father of one's mother or father. So that person is called grandfather. G-R-A-N-T, grand. F-A-T-H-E-R, father. Grandfather. A room where someone does a job like carpentry. So that room is called a workshop. W-O-R-K, work. S-H-O-P, shop, workshop. And the last one is the wife of one's son. So the wife of one's son is called daughter-in-law. D-A-U-G-H-T-E-R. Daughter-in-L-A-W. Daughter-in-law. Just like Tekla was daughter-in-law of Kurt. The next question is, underline the verbs in the following. Now take a look of this picture and I am reading the paragraph. Naila sat beside the road. She read her book and waited for the bus. A boy came past on his bicycle. The wheel of the bicycle hit a stone. The bike fell over. The boy went flying through the air and landed in front of Naila. Catch a bus next time, said Naila. The boy smiled and rubbed his knees. So let's underline with me all the verbs in this paragraph. And the first word is already underlined for you. Sat. Naila sat. So sat is the verb. And it is second form of verb, that is sit. Okay. She read her book. Read is the second form of read and it is a verb. And waited. Waited is also a verb. For the bus, a boy came past on his bicycle. Came past is a verb. The wheel of the bicycle hit a stone. Hit. Yes, hit is the verb. The bike fell over. So fell over is a verb. The boy went flying through the air. Went, flying are verbs. And landed in front of Naila. So landed is also a verb here. Catch a bus. Catch is a verb. Next time, said Naila. Said is a verb. The boy smiled. Smiled is a verb. And rubbed. Rubbed is also a verb. His knees. So let's read it again. I hope I'm not forgetting any verb. Let's read it again. Naila sat beside the road. Sat is the verb. She read her book. Read is the verb. And waited for the bus. Waited is also a verb. A boy came past on his bicycle. Came past is a verb in this sentence. The wheel of the bicycle hit a stone. In this sentence, hit is the verb. The bike fell over. Fell over is a verb. The boy went flying through the air. Went flying is verb. And landed. Landed is verb in front of Naila. Catch a bus next time. Catch is a verb. Said Naila. Said is a verb. The boy smiled and rubbed his knees. Smiled and rubbed are verbs. Now the next question is also related to verb and it is, choose a verb from the box to complete the following. Use the correct form of verb and use each verb only once. Now here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 blanks and we also have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 verbs. So one verb can be used only once. So let's start and pick up a suitable verb for that blank. The first one is, they dash for an hour every afternoon. So what will come here? They dash for an hour every afternoon. They rest for an hour every afternoon, just like you rest every afternoon. So they R-E-S-T, rest. Now as we have used this word, so we will cut it. Next, Jason and Mary dash with their friends in the garden now. Jason and Mary, yes, they play with their friends in the garden now. Let's write play over here. P-L-A-Y, play. So we have used this word, so we will cut it. so that we may come to know that how many words are left. The next one is Sarah dashed a whole glass of milk before going to bed last night. Yes, Sarah drank. This verb will be used, but as they are talking about past tense, means last night, so drink will become drank. Sarah, D-R-A-N-K. Drank. Sarah drank a whole glass of milk before going to bed last night.
Now the D is she dashed television every evening. So we have to select out of these two words, and this word is suitable for this blank. Watch television. So as they are using present tense and they are using she, so watch will become watches. Now let's write W-A-T-C-H-E-S, watches. We are using ES because she is used over here. So along with he, she and it, we use S or ES with verb. So it becomes she watches television every evening. Now cut it out, and the last word is left, and it will come in this blank. And let's check it again. Amin dashed a cold last week, but it is better now. Yes, catch will come over here, but the form of verb will be changed because here last week is used. It means they are talking about past tense. So catch will become caught. Now let's write C-A-U-G-H-T, caught. Amin caught a cold last week but is better now.
Now the last question is, read this list of words aloud. Be careful how you say the words. Now let's pronounce with me. C-H-E-A-P, cheap. S-H-E-E-P, sheep. C-H-I-P, chip. And S-H-I-P, ship. Now these two words are of long vowel sound and these two words are short vowel sounds. Let's pronounce with me again. Cheap, sheep, chip, ship. There, they are. There, they are. Steer, stare. Steer, stare. Ear, ear. Now both words will be pronounced same, but only the spellings are different. Ear, ear. Early, yearly. Early, yearly. Far, for. Fair, fear. Now that's it for today. I hope that you've understood the lesson and the exercise well. Now try to learn it as well. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.